Well, hello everybody. I'm trust that you can hear and see me. I'd like to say a great welcome to all of you from across the world, because it appears that we've got an international audience today. Very happy about that. It's very nice to be back, actually, in contact with so many of my colleagues here in Greece, which is where we're actually broadcasting from. Um, but I'd like to welcome people from India, from Romania, and from other countries that have joined us today. Thank you very much for joining, and I do hope that you, all of you, managed to get something really positive out of today. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the chat function, not the Q&A. Okay, so please, in chat, I'm going to ask you some questions later on, and I'd like you to put all your answers in chat. Okay, so through chat, we're going to be actually communicating. Already some people are coming in now and saying where they're coming from. Yes, if you'd like to, just go into chat and say where you're coming from. Where are you based? We've got several from Greece here coming up. Good morning to all of you. Let's see if we can see who's coming in now. We've got more. We've got Thessaloniki, Bulgaria. Hi, Bulgaria. Um, Patra, Halkiva. Nice. Syros, Crete. Hi, Crete. Volos, Mesologi, Athens. Lots of Athens here. Good. Hi there. Tricolour. Nice. Anyone else? Ooh, we really are covering the place here. Bangalore. Hi, Bangalore. Rethymno, Xanthi. Law, it's a long time since I've been up to Xanthi. Reminds me, I have to get back up there. Larissa. Hi, guys from Larissa. Kavala. Spain. Good morning. Trickler again, Heraclio, right? I'll be in Heraclio next month. Hope to see you there, whoever's coming in from there. If you're in Crete, remember on the 16th of March, there's an ELT News conference going on there. Very nice to see you if you'd like to come along. We have Pyrgos, Alimos. Mhm. Well, great to welcome all of you as you're coming in here. So what are we doing today? We're really going to reconsider how we mark and assess our scripts, the scripts that our students give us, because frankly, it's true that many of us are stuck in 1995, and that means that we are, unfortunately, dinosaurs. So let's try and get out of that caveman dinosaur thing and get into the modern world, which of course is happening so rapidly that many of us get left behind. And I hope today you'll find that those of you who have been left behind will realize how easy it is to come back in to catch up and get into the modern way of things. Um, so I just need to have a little click here and move a few things around my screen. And we should be able to get off to a start. There we are. Now, when you mark your scripts, is this a very good picture of how you feel? Serene, happy, content. That's when you're marking all those scripts, those essays, those reviews, whatever that you have to mark all week. Does this really reflect your mood, or are you more this sort of person? A bit sort of stressed, in fact, very stressed, highly stressed, because you've got so much to do. I'm sure that most of you are saying, oh, I'm this second person. A typical teacher, frankly, any weekend could be this one. We take home so many, we take home so many scripts, don't we? And usually it comes along at the weekend, doesn't it? Would you agree with that? If you agree with that, put a Y in the chat. If you disagree, put an N for no. Weekend marking. Oh, it's all yes, isn't it? It's all yes. Oh, there's a no there, someone. Well, you're lucky. Um, but mainly we're yes, we're like 99% yes there. Yeah, I don't know if you take home quite so many boxes as this, but I remember a time when I used to work at a language school. I got something like half of this every weekend. It used to take me hours to get through. And frankly, my marking wasn't very good either in those days. So let's see how we can improve all this situation. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and in chat, just put your answers in, just so we get a picture of who we're dealing with today. So, um, if you're an experienced teacher, are you a one, a two, or a three, according to this? Lots of threes as a one and a two, mainly threes. Someone thinks there are five. I guess that means you're a one. Um, Yeah. Mainly then, we're looking at teachers who have between 6 and more years experience. Okay. So you've had time to get used to marking, um, and to see what in fact it does to you in terms of your private life and your work-life balance. So, question number one. On average, how many hours per week do you spend marking scripts? Have a good thought about that. How many hours per week do you spend marking scripts? 5, 15, 15 again, 12, 8 to 10, tens, lots of tens coming up. 8 to 10, 20. Oh my God. There's a 10, another 10, a 12. Yeah, we've got plenty of it. It looks like most of you are in the 10 ballpark. Okay. Um, 10 hours. Right. Next question. Are you compensated for this, financially or otherwise? Y or N? Okay, in about 30 answers that have come in, I've got two yeses and about 28 nos. And I've got some people laughing. So there we are. There's a system, isn't it? That's a systematic problem that, in general, we don't get paid for marking, even though we may spend 10 hours a week doing it. All right, that's a big thing to remember. Keep that one in mind. Um, on average, how long does it take you to mark a B2 script? A script at lower level, at B2 level? 10 minutes? 15? 15, 10, half an hour. Yes, it's taken me half an hour to do one, for sure. 10 to 15, yes. So our average is 10 to 15 minutes per script. Okay. So if you've got a class with 10 kids in and they're all giving you even just one script a week, you're looking at 10 times 15, that's 150 minutes. You're looking, yeah, at a long time just for that one class. It depends on the students. That's an interesting and relevant comment, yes. But in general, though, it's going to take you some time. What about a C2 script or an IELTS Part 2, the essay? Does anyone do IELTS Part 2? If you do, you know what I mean. It's very similar. Oh, yes, we're going 30 minutes here. A lot of 30. Tragic, says someone. Um, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Some people are whizzing through there. They're like the picture here. They're doing it in 10 to 15. Good for you. 20 minutes if I'm lucky. 30 per script. Yeah, it takes a long time, doesn't it? If you want to do it properly, it takes a long time. There's no way you can be like this lady in the picture. You can't be whizzing through them. Um, Yes, the first scripts are quite often tragic. We've got there, but towards the end of the school year, it gets better. Well, hopefully, because that depends on the work we do, doesn't it? Okay. Next question. Have you ever missed an important event like a concert, a party, a family get together, or anything else because you needed to finish scripts marking by your deadline? Mixture of answers there. Some people are very good at managing their work-life balance. I can see that, but we around about 75% of you have said yes. So that's terrible, isn't it? Personally speaking, I missed a really important concert once, and it was the only time Miles Davis, one of my favorite musicians, came to Athens, and I couldn't go because I had the whole boxes and boxes of things to mark. And then he went and died the next year or something, so that was that. I never got to see him. All due to that. That's my personal experience. I'm sure you have some as well. Now, how do you mark? Out of 10, 20, 100? Do you give an ABC? Uh, if it's out of 10, 20, 100, give me an A. Put an A in the box. If it's ABC, put a B. If it's specific criteria, like Cambridge, for example, go with a C. And if you've got your own system, your own hybrid system, put a D. Oh, that is interesting. We've got a whole pile of differences there. I would say the winner, if any, is D at the moment, and C. D and C's seem to be the most popular out of these. So you do mark to specific criteria in general, although quite a few of you are using the 10, 20, 100 system. Um, very few of you are using the ABC, which is good to see. But most of you are doing C or D. Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you for that. Now, here we get a bit more specialized. At B2 and beyond, just excuse me, I've got to maneuver my chat box. At B2 and beyond, in your feedback to the learner, do you provide detailed analytical reasoning for the marks that you award? Yes, always. Yes, 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 for sure. Yes. Lots of yeses coming in there. You should always use the Cambridge criteria if you're preparing them for Cambridge exams. Absolutely right. 100%. Oh, it's all yes. Okay, so you do that. That's why you take so long to do it. Okay. Um, do you correct all the grammatical and lexical errors? That's a much more mixed. It's basically 50% yes, 50% no. All right. That's because we don't have time for it, do we? Okay. Next question. Do you identify and quantify? That means, say how many. Specific task specific lexis is used according to the CEFR, the Council of Europe framework. Do you say, for example, you've used this many B2 words, you've used this many B1 words, this many C2 words, and so on? That is almost, I'd say that's around 90% of you saying no. Okay. Why would that be useful? Would you like to comment on that? Why would it be useful to actually know how many words are being used in the range that you're assessing? To show the students what kind of language they're using, yes. To justify the grade you've given, in part. To make students more aware of the need to actually include vocabulary at the level they're being assessed at. So you can give a fair mark for language, to monitor their progress. To monitor their progress. Think of that. Now, would you have to go back and see how many for example, you've got a student doing a C2 level. How would you know that they're using more C2 words as they go through the year? You'd have to go back and look at all the essays that you'd marked, or you'd have to use some sort of application or something that you enter your marks into, but not just your marks. You'd have to enter the actual B2 stuff in there as well, or C2, or and so on. So that can be quite tricky. Experience is a word coming out a lot. Yeah. So the more experienced you are, the easier it is. Okay. Not so good for you who are just starting. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Thank you very much for those answers. See how we're really getting a picture now of how we do things. I keep a record of their work in written form, says Joanna. Yep. It is tricky though, says Kimon. Yes, it is. So, marking habits. Do you provide a cohesion check, identifying the linkers, the pronouns, and other cohesive devices in the script? Oh, we've got a lot of yeses there. Mainly yeses. Very nice. A few no's. But do you actually show them the linkers, pronouns, and cohesive devices that they are using? Or do you quantify them so that they know they've used like 10 of them or 20 of them or one of them? You highlight them. You mention them in class. Yep. Or you don't do it. Okay. Um, do you give suggestions as to how to improve the script? That's all yes. Yes and always. A couple of no's in there. Okay. How do you do that? Do you do that orally or do you write it down? Both. Models, both, write, written, both. Okay, so there's a lot of writing done here, either on the board or as feedback on the actual script. Okay, excellent. Someone's using Vocaroo. That's interesting. So do you give, so we've got that one. So you do give suggestions, but mainly it's written and it could be on the board or it could be on the script or it could be also spoken. Okay. Now, do you provide your learner with an improved version, spelt correctly? I can see there's a spelling mistake there. With an improved version as a model example, but based squarely on their own script and errors. In other words, not giving one that's been printed in the back of the book, but one that's actually based on the script that the student gave you. There we got a mixture of no's and yeses there. I would say about 60% no on that one. Okay, because that's really time consuming, isn't it? That really, really eats up your time. Okay. Would you like to do all of those things if you had the time? Of course you would. So everyone would like to do that. Okay. So how are you going to do that? Well, let's look at those downsides first. Let's put them all together and then we'll see how we can solve this problem or try to. So first off, the downsides of marking. It's often cited as the biggest downside of teaching, marking. The workload can be overwhelming, especially in the run up to exams. You know that because you need to give detailed feedback at that point. So how does it affect us? It's time consuming. It often extends beyond school hours, doesn't it? Into evenings and into weekends. Large class sizes, if you have large class sizes, means that you have like a never-ending pile of scripts, don't you? It can lead to burnout in some cases. Um, I don't actually teach large classes anymore, but even so, because I want to give this detailed feedback and because I want my students to actually progress and understand why they are getting the grades they're getting, it takes me a long time, even if I'm only marking 5 or 6 per week. I still spend hours doing it, or I used to, because now I've changed, but I shall be telling you all about that in a minute. Um, so, burnout we want to avoid at all costs. Emotional and mental fatigue. Marking is repetitive in nature, so it can be mentally exhausting. You know that, don't you? It's going, "Ooh," you think at some point, I need to have a break. I can't do any more of this. Um, and providing that personalized feedback for each student, that can be draining. So you may feel at the end of it, well, at least they've taken my advice on board. But quite often they haven't, have they? Isn't that demoralizing? Because you'd spend all this time correcting, assessing, writing a little bit of feedback, telling them over and over again, and then you find they're still making the same mistakes. They haven't taken it on board. And perhaps the reason for that is they've become used to you as a person giving feedback. And perhaps it's more important now at this stage to have someone else giving it as well, making it more official, if you like. We'll come back to that one. Um, it's demotivating, isn't it? If they don't actually follow all that stuff that you have spent hours working on. Impact on work-life balance. As we saw before, many of you are actually managing to have a nice balance going on there. Well done to you. But a lot of teachers report missing out on family time, quality family time, personal hobbies, because they're stuck in the marking cycle. And that's a significant factor in us losing teachers, right? We're losing our colleagues quite frequently because they just think this isn't worth it. Um, and then we go back to where we saw before the frustration with systemic issues, for example, lack of compensation. Some of you actually reported that you do get compensated, but you are so in the minority. The majority of people do not get compensated for any of this marking or assessing that they do. This is a systemic problem. That can lead to, guess what? Resentment. You know, oh no, God, look at this. Why am I doing this job? I don't get paid for it. I like the teaching part, but come on, this is horrible. So, does it push teachers to quit? It does. It may not be the only factor pushing teachers to quit, but it definitely plays a major role. I've got some yeses for sures and a not really coming in there, so we've got a mixture of opinions. But certainly it's part of it. Um, I'll never forget, and I don't know if this lovely person is here today, but I was told by a school owner when I was used to be going around doing the Cambridge public relations. When I went to one school, I said, "Well, how are you doing this year?" And they said, "Oh, it's dreadful. I've lost my best teacher." And I said, "Oh, why? What happened?" They just quit. And they quit because they decided it would be much better for them to just go and clean sailboats or yachts, because they would get up in the morning, go and clean 2 sailboats, get paid the same amount of money they would be paid at school, and have all the rest of the day, they'd be finished by 12 o'clock noon, and have all the rest of the day for their family, their hobbies, or whatever. And they quoted to the owner, they said, the major problem is the marking. It just takes up all our free time. There you go. There's a real life example of how it can happen. And I felt really, really sorry for this school owner because she has a really great school, but she found another teacher eventually. So these are things that happen. Now, how can we avoid all this happening? First, have you ever used artificial intelligence to assist you with marking? Let's see who's actually using it at the moment. Yeah, I'd say that something like 75% don't use it, or maybe even 80% don't use it yet, or haven't used it yet. Okay. Um, that's what we're talking about today. So let's go on and talk about how we can do that. Those of you who have used it, how satisfied are you with it? Someone says a lot, someone says quite, very, quite. EdWiBo is great. Yes, it is, but we'll come to that. Very impressed. Absolutely. Well, I couldn't read that one. Um, very. Okay. Um, Great. So we've got a mixture of opinions there. Some people are finding it really helpful, others not so. Some are finding it difficult, right? Okay. Some are using other platforms. Um, Fine, but maybe that's the problem. Let's have a look. Would you consider using AI if it was easy to use? Oh, yes. We're getting lots of people say, well, everyone's saying yes. Okay. Obviously, says someone. Well, it isn't obvious, isn't it? Some people, though, are a little stick in the mud. They don't want, they're a bit frightened to go into technology and use it. But if it's easy, there's no reason to be frightened of it, as we'll see. It's 2025, guys. Um, that's the future. For many of us, we've actually arrived in the future. I remember thinking 2000 would be the future when I was a kid. Now it's 2025. So, what we really need to do is EdWiBo. EdWiBo. It's a verb. What does it mean? EdWiBo means to save precious time, providing learners with consistent and fair, high quality assessments in strict accordance with exam board criteria. It means empowering them with improved rewritten responses and to the point feedback. And it means generating exercises so that they can improve, but these exercises are tailored to their specific errors and needs, as shown in the scripts that they provide us. That's what EdWiBo means. And I think a lot of us are going to be EdWiBoing this year. I started EdWiBoing about 2 months ago, and it has really changed how I spend my time, how I arrange and organize my marking, and it saved me, seriously, it saved me hours, hours and hours. And as I said, I only have like 5 to 10 scripts to look at each week. So imagine how much time that's going to save you if you have more than that. What does EdWiBo do? EdWiBo is programmed for main examination boards. We'll see which ones in a minute. So, what you do is you choose the board that you are actually working with, you choose the level that you're actually working with. EdWiBo goes from B2, it does not go from under B2 at the moment, but that's something we can look at in the future. It's B2, C1, C2 levels. And what it does is it actually reports back according to those criteria. This makes it very, very different from ChatGPT, for example, which is not specifically programmed for that. If you put something into ChatGPT, it will come out sometimes reasonable, sometimes not. In my experience, because I've been testing it out and comparing it with EdWiBo, in my experience, it often gives you lower marks than it should do. But that's my experience. You may actually have other experience there. So EdWiBo is far more accurate. In fact, EdWiBo is 97% accurate in its assessing, which I think is just about as high as you can go. Um, so grading and reasoning with comments for each of the specific criteria for whatever examination body you decide to choose. This one is an example from Cambridge. Wait, I got some. Yes. Can we have questions about this part? Can we have them at the end? We're going to have a big question and answer session, okay? And I will try and answer all your questions. Technical ones will be answered by our technical boffing Nick, also at the end. Okay, let's just go through this and then we'll have all the questions. And you can ask as many questions as you like. So here's an example of what you would see from Cambridge. It's based on the 4 Cambridge criteria there, and it gives you a decent feedback on how you're doing in each of those 4 criteria. And it gives you a grade as well. It gives you a list of errors, what type of error it is. It puts your error there, for example, with regard in your article, and it puts the corrected version with regard to your article, and it tells you what the problem is. And it does this for all the mistakes that are there in that piece of writing. This is just a small section. Look at this one. Was a bit risky. A bit. It's decided that was somewhat risky is better language for C2. And so it is. Somewhat is more suitable for C2. Look at the sort of advice it's giving. That might be something that you might miss. It can help you. And the big thing here with EdWiBo, and I want to stress this, is it's not God. It's not going to give you the perfect assessment. What it is going to do, though, is provide you with a very good assessment, which you can then look at yourself and remain in control and say, well, I agree with this. I agree with this. Oh, look, I didn't notice that. Yes. This one, no, I'm not so sure about that one. You can alter it. It's entirely up to you. But you will have insights that perhaps you would miss normally, especially when you're marking lots and lots of scripts and getting tired. What it also does is it gives you a vocabulary analysis according to level. This is extremely useful because the student can see that, okay, I have written a C2 essay, but I didn't actually use that many words that were C2 level words. I did have some C1s, that's good, but I've also got B2s in there. So how can I improve that? And as you go through week after week, hopefully you're going to see an improvement and you're going to see more words in C2 and C1 than in the B2 ones. And then the student knows that they are actually getting closer to their goal. You also know that the student is getting closer to their goal. And very importantly, the parents can see this because what you're going to give them is a PDF printout of all of this each time. And you'd be surprised, or maybe not surprised, how fantastic this is for your image and your status as a teacher or a school. Because when the parents see this very nice, detailed, analytical, professional printout, they start thinking, I'm with the right person here. This is not just someone squiggling some things on the paper and saying A or 6 out of 10. This is someone actually doing a professional job. All of this is so easy to do, guys, because EdWiBo does it for you. Grammar. It gives you the student, gives the teacher some idea, some insight into how they could improve. It makes suggestions as to what to do. The student will read these. They'll read these far more than pay attention to what you're saying to them, I tell you, honestly, because it's official. It's there. It's there in black and white. It's something that they will read. They will read it not just once, they'll read it more than once because they want those good grades. It gives you the corrected text. Actually, corrected is not super correct in itself, it's an improved text. Um, so they can compare this with the one that they wrote and they can see where the differences are. That's a good thing to do in class. You can sit them down. Here's your script. Here's the EdWiBo script. See where the differences are. Mario, tell me, what's the first difference you see? Why is it better? Maria, can you tell me what's the first you see and why is that better? Have a class thing going on. Get people aware of the mistakes that they make and how they can improve them. Gives you the morphology of the writing as well. It actually gives you statistically how many nouns there are, how many verbs, how many adjectives, and so on. Why is that important? Well, those of you who are experienced will know that if you're writing a formal piece like an essay, a discursive essay, the more nouns you have, the more formal it gets. If you're writing an informal piece, the more verbs you have, the better it is. So here we're looking at 40 nouns, 22 verbs. So we're looking at something that's probably an essay. But if it were the other way round, the student and teacher would know, look, you've got to improve this because you're losing the formality that we need here. And therefore, in Cambridge, for example, you're losing marks in communicative achievement. Cohesion devices. It tells you what you've used. 6 coordinating conjunctions, 5 subordinating ones. It tells you this is probably better for the teacher than for the student, but it's really, really helpful. You don't have to quantify this. It's all quantified for you. It links with can-do statements. Now, this is really important for the student themselves because they can know how close to the C2 level or the B2 level or whatever level they are, they actually have approached. Here we can see there's lots of ticks, there are a few crosses. Maybe the crosses are there because this is not part of the task that they have done. But in this case, what we have is a person who is clearly at C2 level according to the CEFR, which is really important. They know that. The student gets this encouragement. Not only that, the parents can see this as well. So they can see that your school or you as a private teacher are doing the right work. You're getting that person to the level or not. So how does it work? It's really, really simple. For those of you who are worried about, how it works, it's dead simple. First thing you do is you select your assessment criteria. So what are you going to do? Cambridge, Michigan? We have 6 boards at the moment on the system. We have Cambridge, ESB, IELTS, IELTS Academic, Language Cert, Michigan, and NOCN. All of those are up and running on EdWiBo at the moment. Each of those assistants, as we call them, the robots you can see there, are programmed with the specific criteria used by these boards. This is very, very, very different to several other systems that are in use at the moment. And this is where it's a totally different ball game with EdWiBo. It's much more accurate. The next thing you do is you upload the student's work. How can you do that? If you have the student's work in printed form, in Word form, I ask my students, especially my C2 students, to type their written stuff, not to give it to me as handwritten. It makes it much easier. It's a much quicker process. However, if you've got students who are giving you texts as handwritten texts, like this one that you can see on the left, this was a one that I got the other day. EdWiBo has made it very easy for you and free to get that handwriting turned into text. So in a deal that it has with ChatGPT, you simply upload that in through the EdWiBo site. It tells you this GPT is offered for free. I do my best for you. If you want to assess your students' writing based on exam board's criteria in seconds, and it really does only take seconds, then copy paste the following transcription into it. It says it's doing it. It very importantly removes any strike throughs. So if the student has written something and then decided they don't want that, and you teach them that the way to remove that is to just draw a line through it, the system recognizes that and will not include anything that they have struck through. Also, anything that's unclear because their writing may have got sort of all sludgy, smudgy, um, then it will just put it in placeholders so that we know that it couldn't read that. And that's very important because if the system can't read it, then probably the examiner couldn't read it either. So that means, watch your handwriting. Says it'll have it ready shortly. It does. It doesn't take very long. And then it comes up in text form. Once you have it in text form, you can then put it through the system. And in around 10 to 20 seconds, you get the full printout with absolutely everything in it. It's really, really quick. The next thing you do is you enjoy that, you read through the assessment that's been made, and you check that you agree with it. Okay? Um, please, Eva, can we have a question at the end, please, on this one? So, um, you check through to make sure that, yes, it's all okay. You check through to see that you agree with the assessment. There may be some things you disagree with. And then you copy and print it, or print it. It's up to you. You can just press a button and it will come up as a PDF file, or you can copy it, put it into your specific Word file, and then alter it according to things that you would like to personalize about this. Okay, so it's very, very, very simple to use, and at the moment, what we have is a system whereby you can go into EdWiBo and it will automatically give you 10 free credits. So you can just start using it, okay, and see how it works for you. It may not work for you, but I can't believe that, having used it myself. It's just fantastic. I think that's why I've agreed to be part of all of this. And in fact, I can't wait for it to get even better because it's constantly improving day by day. Because we know with artificial intelligence, it learns from the input that we put in as well. How much does it cost? Well, that's up to you to decide if you think it's worth it. I certainly do. It basically works out that you can get 5 entire scripts for about €1 in total. So that's saving you 2.5 hours of work doing 5 C2 scripts. Um, Maybe you will spend about half an hour altogether putting it all together and assessing it and inputting it. So instead of doing 2.5 hours, you pay €1 and you do half an hour. Now, if that's not a good deal, I don't know what is. For me, it's fantastic. Wonderful. I'd much rather have 2 hours of free time than €1 in my pocket. What's €1? Here it's like a third of a coffee, a fourth of a coffee, a quarter of a coffee if you're in Athens. So come on, it's nothing. Let's recap then before we go to question and answer. Um, which examination boards are supported by EdWiBo? At present, we have University of Cambridge, University of Michigan, IELTS academic, ESB, language cert, and NOCN, because these are the prevalent boards here where we're working. In the future, we will be adding more. For those of you in Greece, you'll be happy to know the Kratiko is going in there, and also the Ethiko Mathema for entrance to university. Those are being worked on at the moment. They'll soon be in there as well. And of course, eventually we wish to do more boards and be even wider. But at the moment, this is where we are. What does the assessment cover? You've got the error table with spelling, grammar, articles, prepositions, contractions, punctuations, pronoun agreements, sentence structure, and word order. All of that is put in your error table. You've got parts of speech analysis. You've got the classification according to the CEFR, grammar points for improvement, cohesion analysis, can-do statements, suggestions for improvement, and that all-important rewritten, improved version of the student's writing, not just some model that's been beamed in from some generic place. This is an actual adjusted version of the student's own writing, which is super important. It's one of the best features, I think, of the whole system. Can EdWiBo create customized exercises for your students? Yes, it can. If you wish, you can press a button. You use a credit for this, okay? So one of your 20-cent credits goes on this, and you can get a series of exercises, gap fills, mix and match, based on the mistakes that the student has made so that they can learn not to make those mistakes, either grammatically or lexically. Very nice system there. You can do that. Is it difficult to use, guys? No, it's dead simple. It's designed to be user-friendly. It's designed to be intuitive. You don't need any advanced skills. You simply do what I said. You select your exam board. You choose the level. You upload the writing sample. With the prompt, don't forget you have to put the actual prompt in so that the system knows what the rubric was for this. And then artificial intelligence does it all. We've said how much it costs, practically nothing. Is it secure? Good question. Yes. We prioritize the privacy and security of our students and users. All data is handled in accordance with strict protocols. All your students' stuff is protected. There's no way that's getting out. Now, if you have a school, if you're a school owner, this might be very interesting for you. Or if you work for a school, if you're a DOS or you're in charge of a department at a bigger school, can you use EdWiBo for multiple teachers? Yes, you can. There's a dedicated institutional panel where you can invite teachers, you can manage credits, and you can monitor. This is so important. You can monitor your team's activities in terms of assessment. So you can see what grades, what assessment each teacher has given to each student all the time. All of this builds up into a history of the student's assessment that you can go in and have a look at. So you can check that your teachers are assessing correctly, and you can check that the students are progressing or not. All of that is in the institutional panel that you have if you go in for that one. If you're an individual teacher, you don't need that one, of course. How can you see the results? You can view them online, you can download them, or you can print them. It's entirely up to you how you like it. Well, you can do all three of them. Remember, the report will include the original text, the feedback, the analysis, and the rewritten version. So it makes it easy to share with your students. And finally, before we go to question and answer, and I know I can see lots of questions coming up, we're going to try and answer all of them. Remember, it is only an assistant, okay? You are in control of this. If you want to change any of it, all you do is you copy it, put it into your own Word system, and you can make alterations and personalized comments in there. You can keep what you want, you can discard what you don't want. In general, I find that I like to do that. I like to go through and check. It takes me about 5 minutes. And at the end, I like to write a personalized comment to the actual student. Um, and then I deliver that with the whole thing spoken as well, and we go through it each time. They love it. They have this lovely printed professional report, and as I said before, parents love it as well because it really, really ups your ante professionally. Okay. Um, but you are in control. That's really, really important. Okay. Um, okay. I don't think I have anything else to say personally. Thank you so much for listening to me. I've been rabbiting on for quite a long time, in fact, 50 minutes. Um, but I'm all ears now. So let's go to question and answer and see if I can answer your questions. Will you put them in chat? If you've already put them in question and answer, someone will be monitoring that. Okay. Let's see if we've got any of these questions. I'm going to have to go back quite a long way. Where are we? Let's go from here. Um, I'm sorry if I've missed out some questions. You can always re-answer them, re-ask them if you wish. Um, in the brochure, you can find a comparison between an authentic Cambridge Mark script and AI EdWiBo. That's true. The comparison is amazing, and that's where you get the 97%. Someone asked about that. Okay, we really are checking. I've checked some EdWiBos with actual examiners back in England that I know. We've done a check through, and it's amazing. It's amazing how close this is. Um, bearing in mind, in Cambridge world, that each examiner can be one grade out. Okay, so if you're giving a 4 or a 5, a 4 or a 3 is a personal thing, but it has to be based on criteria, and the EdWiBo system actually solidly, scientifically goes through that because it can quantify, whereas we can't. We can't quantify the linkers, we can't quantify the task-specific vocabulary and so on, but the system can, and it takes like a second to do. Very good. Where have we got another question? Another question. Who would mark important as C1 vocabulary, though my A1 students study that? I don't quite understand, Simeon, your question there. Um, if you've got A1 students doing C1 vocabulary, that's odd. Um, I've been using it for 2 weeks now, says Kimon. I thought they wouldn't read it, but I was wrong. Yes, they do read it. Exactly, Kimon. They do read it. It's impressive. It's something else. It's coming from another place. That's why they read it. Um, what kind of assessment mode is assessed? Well, we dealt with that. Yes, it can be either pen and paper or it can be online. Um, yes, you may disagree with the categorization of the word. Someone here is saying important is an A1 word. Um, A1 important, I'm not so sure about that. But EdWiBo goes on the CEFR guidelines. So if it's in the CEFR important as a B2 word, then it's a B2 word. Um, maybe it's different subtle shades of the word that can put it there. Um, have you noticed any changes in their writing or attitude towards correct? Oh, absolutely. Mine are now actually thinking in terms of examiners. They're actually thinking, oh my, no, the examiner's not going to like this, or how did I miss that one? They're actually thinking in terms of the criteria, which is exactly what we want. Um, does anyone know a similar tool for German, French, Spanish, Italian? I don't, because that's not my field. But I guess they may exist. Um, the 97% accuracy is based on typed or word form input. If you actually just send the handwriting, you can do that. You can just upload the handwriting, but if you, because that will save you time without transcribing it. But the point is that it's not so accurate because obviously handwriting needs to be screened. You get 70% accuracy if you just put the handwriting up without doing it. But there's no need to do that because we're offering you the free system to actually turn it into Word. For best results, type submissions are recommended, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't recognize the handwriting. Um, interestingly enough, um, that's exactly what it's like for a human examiner as well, because the handwriting is scanned and sent up to the cloud and taken down by examiners with the Cambridge system. And sometimes, if they can't read it either. So if you can't read it, that's why sometimes we get disappointing results. We need to check that our students who are going to take exams in handwritten form actually can write clearly. It's very important. Um, just a reminder there that if you're a new user, you can get 10 free credits. Do go in and try it out. That's really the point of today, is that I would like you to go in and try it and see if it actually suits you or not. Um, that's what I did, and I was just blown away. In a few years, all exams will probably be online. Well, that's true. And if they are online, guess who's going to mark them? Obviously, computers. All marking online will be done by computers. No way is a human going to be involved. So any online exams coming up in the future will clearly be computer marked anyway. Ah, EdWiBo supports only one image per assessment, that's true, but for multi-page handwritten essays, you can merge your pages into one image. That's easy. You can convert it. You need to have a tool. If you've got someone writing more than a page and you want to put 2 pages in, you have to merge those documents before you can put them in. Yes, use it today. That's exactly what we want to do. Use it today. Go in and see how it's going to help you. Don't be disappointed if you see some things you disagree with. As I said, that's part of the fun. You're the teacher, you're in control, but this really, really helps you. You didn't catch how the pricing works. You buy credits. After you've used your 10 free credits, you can buy things. You can buy 10 credits more, 20, however many credits you think you need. Oh, right. This is interesting. Eleni said, I have used it and it's really amazing. The only difficulty is the handwritten script. I use voice typing to turn the script into typed. What's a problem with voice typing? You're altering the spelling. The When you do voice typing, the system will automatically correct the spelling of the words. And spelling is a really important part of the criteria of many exam bodies. For Cambridge, it's very important, even from the very first exams. So if you try and voice type it into the system, you're taking away the spelling mistakes. unless you have a system which will allow the spelling. Well, how can you have a system? It can't possibly recognize it. So there you go. So that's not a good idea. Um, Actually, it is quite good, says Simeon. I just tested it. It gave the same 80% I usually give, though it gave 4 for content and language, though I gave 5 for content and 3. Yes, you see, it's one out sometimes, but that's up to you to decide if you want to accept that or not. Yeah, don't be skeptical. I'm telling you, it works. It's much better than ChatGPT, absolutely. I've had some big disappointments with ChatGPT. In fact, I stopped using it. Um, Someone's asked, Clary has asked, will the actual writing exam papers in May or June be assessed by a human or by a computer at Cambridge? If it's a written paper with handwriting, it'll be assessed by a human. If it's one of the new computer-based exams, Cambridge have said they will be using automatic assessment on those. Well, thank you too for coming. Thank you very much. We need to have B1 too. There's something for our technical boffin Nick to think about. Can we have B1 too? Is it coming? I hope so. Because a lot of people do B1 across the world. That's true. If you've got specific technical questions, you can always get in contact with EdWiBo and ask them. They'll come back to you very, very quickly. Okay? If there's a specific technical problem that you come across when you're using the system, just send them an email saying through their contact on the website and just say, I have this problem. What can I do? Well, thank you so much for your lovely, lovely comments. Thank you, everyone. I'm really, really happy that you've got something out of this. Um, so I think we have to wrap up at this point. But as I said, if you go in, use the system, and then, wow, you'll be impressed. I'm pretty sure you'll be impressed. If you're not impressed, well, send us some comments. Tell us what you didn't like about it, and we'll try very, very much to improve those. Yes, it is fantastic, Kate. It is. Oh, I have so much more free time. So I'm going to say goodbye from now and hope to see you all at one of the events coming up with the ELT News in March, and in Athens, in Heraklion in Crete, and in Patras in Achaia. Um, and you can come up to me and ask me any questions and give me your feedback there if you like as well. Be very interested to hear it. Thank you very much. Goodbye from me then. Bye bye.